Good morning. You've been talking about the vibration and, I'm vibrating right now. I'm experiencing such joy and excitement with the lessons that I've been learning from you, and I've had moments of, I had this one experience where it was such a pure excitement and love, and it was so intense. I mean, I literally thought my hands and feet were going to vibrate off my body. And I just want to know, though, because I have those moments, but then when I'm not, I feel like I can't be at that level all the time, or I'd be totally exhausted.
That's what we meant earlier when we were saying sometimes it's love, sometimes it's eagerness, sometimes it's interest. In other words, you can be on that high-flying disc with different degrees of momentum and still be where you want to be. You're right. You wouldn't want to be bouncing off the walls like that. And in fact, that sensation in your hands, when you're feeling it that strong in your body, that's a slight indication of some residual resistance that's working its way out.
Okay.
Sort of like the day Esther could hear the compressor on the refrigerator in the bus, she knew that something was wrong with the motor. In other words, you know what we're talking about. You can hear it in an engine. Can't you hear it when it sort of gets out of whack? Your washing machine, can't you hear it when it's getting out of balance? It's a little bit like that.
So when I've experienced such this intense, I mean, I actually have, when I was feeling that intensity that one time, because it hasn't been quite at that level, I actually almost felt a little bit of, not shame, but silliness that I said to myself, Janie, I can't believe you've ever worried about anything. Because there was such a knowing of peace and just knowing that everything is going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. But I guess
in that conversation with yourself, it undoubtedly subsided a little bit because you introduced resistance to that pure thought as you admonished yourself. You see what we're getting at?
Yes. So I guess my question is, I feel like I have this knowledge. I feel like I had it even as a small child, even before I was introduced to your teachings, in the sense of I just always knew I would be okay, that everything was wonderful. And if I know this, why is it that, and the gentleman was speaking earlier, when you feel like you have a resistance, or I feel like I get in a low place, it's like, why would I put my hand on the stove when I know it's going to burn and not feel well? I'm wondering.
Well, because you were born into this environment of variety and contrast for the purpose of joyous expansion. And how could you know what you do want if you don't know what you don't want? The contrast is necessary for the focus. But the beating up on yourself for the contrast is not necessary. That's the piece that we're really wanting to help you to release from your experience. It's perfectly, in other words, if something unpleasant presents itself to you, we are not asking you to stand and look at it and say, well, I want to practice the art of allowing, and so I accept and embrace all unwanted things. That's not the point at all. When you see something you don't want, it helps you to identify with more clarity what you do want. It's all part of that contrasting experience. And many of our physical friends have said, well, why, if source energy, if non-physical is pure positive energy, why would I subject myself to variety and contrast? Why would I put myself in a position of being diminished in some way? Why would I put myself in a place where I would not always 100% of the time feel that pure energy? And we say, because the creative process is 3 steps. Step 1, ask for what you want. Well, how are you going to do that if you don't know what you don't want? You need that definition. You need that experience to help you to define it. Just don't get hung up in that part of it. Once you've identified, that's the better question to ask. Once I know I want it, why am I beating the drum of the absence of it? Why do I ever talk about what I don't want? Well, there's a very simple answer to that question. Momentum. You talk about what you don't want because law of attraction is bringing to you more thoughts that are like the thoughts that have been active within you. And the answer to breaking that tendency is wake up in the morning and reach for the best feeling thoughts you can find and sustain them as long as you can, and don't beat up on yourself when you fall off that disc, and then the next morning do it again, and the next morning do it again, until before you know it, you will be predominantly focused upon what you do want. There will be, for a while, maybe even for a long while in your experience, residual from habits of thought. In other words, there are hot buttons that keep getting pushed. Because let's say that someone took advantage of you financially. And even though it doesn't really matter anymore, it was a while ago, it is having really no impact on your experience now. It felt wrong when it happened, and it feels wrong every time you think about it. Well, don't think about it. Well, that's easier to say than not, because in a conversation, somebody else is telling you about that, and it reminds you, oh yeah, that happened to me. Or you're watching television and it's displayed, and you think, oh yeah, that happened to me. So there are all kinds of reasons that it might be activated. So if something unwanted is continually activated within you, that means that where you left it is on a lower flying disc. And every time it's activated, you're going to go back there. So you might want to do something about leaving that in another place. What we would do is address it from, get in a good feeling place, and then think about it. Now really, is this something that I really need to worry about? Is this something that really affects me in a negative way now? Couldn't I say that this was part of my learning experience? Aren't I better off for having had this experience? Do I really want to blame this person who I don't even really know what was going on in their life experience? Do I really want to feel bad about this? Is anything worth feeling bad about it? Aren't I ready to just sort of let this go? And as you talk to yourself like that, from that place of feeling good, and you leave it in a different place, then next time that shows up in a movie or in a conversation, you won't spring to it like you did before, because you left it in a different vibrational place. And before you know it, you will have worked enough bugs out of your past belief system that you won't be threatened, isn't the right word, or jeopardized isn't the right word, challenged might be the better word. You won't be challenged by your own active vibrations that contradict how you really want to feel. That's all that's going on. You're challenged by active vibrations that are contrary to what you really want.
So in reality, the contrast is necessary in this whole big...
Yeah.
And when I change the way I look at contrast and realize it's just going to get me back into connection and look at it as a positive thing, there really is no problem.
We've been talking about step one is knowing what you don't want, which causes you to know what you do want. So you launch this rocket, which goes into this vortex. Now we know, hard for you to see, maybe not want to take our word for it, but take our word for it. There's a vibrational reality that exists as a result of what you've been living. And it is all that you want. It's the best that you've synthesized out of all that you've lived. And your source stands there in that knowing, reflecting that vibration to you all the time. That's what your guidance system is. So then, step two is all of that. Step three is you're reaching for the best thought that you can find, and you're successful in it. And when you do, now your point of attraction is such that there's no break in the frequency. There's no variance in the frequency between where you stand and what you want. And when there's no variance in the frequency, then what you want is flowing into your experience, where just like you just witnessed being able to see something in the aura demonstration that you usually don't see, you're in the right place at the right time. You hear something, you get an impulse to stop, you are inspired to behavior, you rendezvous with things, and there's a demonstration all around you of what you want flowing into your experience. So I say that's a really nice place to be. You've got control of your point of attraction. Then, in control of your point of attraction, standing in that place of recognition that the universe has yielded to you something that you want, you're not going to stop in your asking then or ever. More contrast is going to show itself to you again. So you're on your high-flying disc. Abraham, really? Contrast is going to reveal itself? Yes, because there is never an end to choices. And Esther said, oh, please, 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 let's call that step 4. Please, please, please. Can we call that step 4? In other words, so you're on your high-flying disc and contrast is still there. But really, you've helped us to articulate with more precision what that step 4 is than we've ever done before. Step 4 is exploring contrast without being mad at myself. Step 4 is a complete embracing of the contrasting universe in which I live, and the chooser that I was born to be, and the decider that I am, the synthesizer of experience, and the lover of myself no matter what that I was born to be. Because the source within you will never stop loving you. And in the moment that you do, and they train you early. What are you doing? Stop doing that. You should know better than that. In other words, you're trained by teachers and by parents and by all kinds of well-meaning people who have decided that your behavior is the indicator of the being that you are. And we say, not your behavior, your emotion. Your emotion is the indicator of the being that you are. And there's only two choices, a complete being or an incomplete being. You're either tuned in, tapped in, turned on, or you're not. And you can tell the difference, you see. And when you're full of yourself, and the teacher wants you to sit down and shut up and not be full of yourself, we want the teacher to sit down and shut up and be full of herself. Yeah. Helpful?
Yes, thank you very much.
Really good. Really good. We've enjoyed this interaction more than words can express fully. One of the things that we enjoy most about a gathering like this is that we, or you, are not limited to the communication that is taking place through words. There is a vibrational thing that is happening. The words are helpful because they cause us to focus similarly. And as we focus similarly, then the broader experience of the vibrational knowing and clarity can then take place. A gathering like this, from our point of view, is of advantage to you because through your willingness and patience to participate in dialogue like this, you have focused in the vibrational vicinity of your source longer than you usually do. And because of that longer focus, even though we're all sort of in and out of it depending on what's happening in the questions and answers, for the most part, it is a time of sustained vibrational frequency that is in keeping with who you really are. And that's why, almost without exception, everything that we said here today, even the things that have never been said before, were received by you. That's why you got it. Now, as you move from this room and try to explain to anybody what this was about, that clarity will probably subside just a little bit, because this is a peak experience. But the value of it is you practiced a vibration that took you to a new place, which gives you two really wonderful advantages. The first is that now you've found this new frequency and you've sustained it for a little bit of time, enough time. When you slip from it, you will recognize it. So your keen awareness of your own guidance system has been enhanced as a result of a participation like this here today. And the other thing that is wonderful is that your point of attraction has shifted as a result of the mental focus that you have participated in today. You are not leaving this room with the same sustained frequency that you entered it, which means everything in your experience is going to be different. Every relationship that you have will shift to some degree. The thing that matters most, and it's our favorite thing to say to you, is your realization of that. In other words, if you can accept a shift as you have received it here today, acknowledge it is really what we're saying, and then compound the acknowledgement by affirming the evidence of it to yourself, not to others, when it occurs. Well, now you're on the path of least resistance, you see. Now you're moving into that ease that we were talking about earlier. You are a magnificent group, and it has been delightful for us to feel you as you were and as you are.